Chairman of Doncaster Rovers, that is Andrew Watson, followed by the CEO of Club Doncaster and Doncaster Rovers, Mr Gavin Baldwin. We're also joined by Club Director Mr Terry Bramall. The Chairman of Doncaster Rovers is Mr David Blunt. President of Doncaster Rovers is Mr Dick Watson. And our Team Manager is Darren Ferguson. Ladies and gentlemen, our top table tonight. In attendance within the room as well, we have representatives from Centreplate, the Rovers Supporters Club, the Viking Supporters Cooperative Supporters Board and Club Doncaster. We're also joined by Leanne Ross, who is our signer this evening, for our hard of hearing guests who join us tonight, who are very welcome indeed. Nice to have you with us. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure we've all got lots and lots of questions to put to our top table tonight. First things first, I'm going to hand over now to our Chief Operating Officer, that is Gavin Baldwin, who would like to address you all first. Gavin.
Good evening, everyone. Paul Mayfield apologises that he can't make it tonight, but has asked that I read out the following on his behalf. So, on behalf of Jill's family and myself, we cannot thank the fans of Doncaster Rovers enough for the excellent tribute on 58 Minutes on Saturday and at Yeovil. We thank you for the cards and best wishes you have sent. Also, credit to the fans of Morecambe and Yeovil for joining me in the applause. You are all a credit to the club, which we both love. Doncaster Rovers players, what can I say? The way they came over to myself at Yeovil, off their own backs, showed the bond and admiration the fans and the players have now formed. A very touching moment, which I thank them for. And the players dedicating last week's win to Jill. The board, the players, the fans, the management, Gavin and Liam, and all the staff at Doncaster Rovers have showed what a family club we are and how we look after our own. To Luke and the media team for putting a single red rose on Jill's table in the press box and getting the picture on the big screen, how could you not be moved? Tributes from other clubs' fans around the world have been very comforting. Thank you once again. Jill would have blushed with all the wishes. If Jill leaves a legacy, it will be that the players, fans, the club, unite as one, bringing us all closer together.
Gavin, thank you very much indeed for those words, of course, via Paul Mayfield. Our thoughts continue to be with him and all of Jill's family and friends. We're just going to turn our attention to our manager now, who is very kindly joining us this evening. Darren, good to have you tonight with us. Of course, it's a quick turnaround, a game this coming Friday, and a game on a pitch which is going to offer its own challenges, shall we say.
It looks like it, doesn't it? We were just talking about it earlier. We're going to have to play to the pitch, really, because there's very little grass on it, if any. But we'll just have to go on with it. I think the players have shown that they've got that side to their game in terms of battling out wins. We've done that this season. We'll have to do it again. But certainly, yeah, we've got a tough week coming up. 2 away games, and then obviously back here to Luton Town. So, but at the moment, we're relishing the games that are coming at us.
The games really can't come quick enough, can they, when we're in the sort of vein of form that we have. There is an air of authority about the team when we take to the field. It's an air, not arrogance, but obviously an authority that we feel that we can outscore other teams and that we can literally win every game. Yeah,
I wouldn't. I certainly don't think there's an arrogance to it. I think there's a belief to what we're doing, and obviously the results we've had in particular, throughout the whole season, but particularly the month just gone, January. Certainly at home, I feel that you, the fans, have really got that belief and kept with us. You've been very, very patient, because not every game we've been winning at home, we've been maybe drawn at half time, but we've had that belief to keep playing the way we wanted to play, and it's a huge thing, having the belief of everyone. But the players have been very, very good, particularly the last month. It was a tough month for us, and getting through the tough Christmas period and then into January. So no, I've been delighted with them, and we've just got to keep going and make sure we're consistent, and if we can, keep improving.
There's nothing won yet by any stretch of the imagination, is there? But obviously the position that the club find themselves in, the team find themselves in, must give you great confidence moving forward.
Yeah, at the moment, absolutely. The points total's excellent. We're ahead of where we sort of set out to be. But there's certainly a long way to go, we've got to make sure that if we can, we keep just picking up points and keep winning games, really. But nothing's won, and no one's even speaking about anything like that. All we spoke about this morning was some things we need to take away from the game on Saturday. Certainly a bit more ruthless in the last third, and now we look forward to the Newport game and nothing else.
Certainly, finally for me, before we throw the questions open, how pleased are you that we seem to have conquered the home form situation? Because it's for so many years it's been the keepmoat has been the nemesis of Doncaster Rovers in many ways, as far as trying to get some really good home form strung together. So it must be very pleasing that we've created this fortress type keepmoat.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, I know last season obviously didn't end the way we wanted to, but even towards the end of last season we were unbeaten, for a few 3 or 4 games. So we've managed to kick on this season, and it's something we are proud of. It's something that when we play here, it is mentioned in the dressing room. We want to make sure we keep that one going as long as we can. And we've managed to turn it around to, I think other teams will look at it psychologically coming here. I mean, on Saturday the opposition were absolutely delighted to get a point, and at the moment, so they should be. So amongst us all, we just have to make sure we keep that atmosphere and keep winning games at home if we can.
Darren, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts, and the very best wishes for Friday at Newport.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks.
Okay, it's now time to throw the questions open to the floor. Once again, we do ask everybody to give us your name and who your question is directed at, and also, as always, if we can, make sure phones are switched to silent or to off. Thank you. First question of the evening, a very familiar face here.
Yeah, it's Alf Merle. First of all, I'd like to be one of the first supporters to congratulate the board for their foresight after the disappointment of last year of keeping Mr Ferguson here, and I wish you all the very best for the rest of the season. Thank you.
Okay, our next question, the gentleman over there. Very nice way to start this evening off. Okay, your name, sir, and who's your question for?
My name's Dave, and questions for the board. Yeah. I've got a question from myself and a question from someone else off the forum, because he can't come today. What the man of the forum says is how much how much do we expect to lose money do we expect to lose on this year after promote, if we get promoted, and have you any idea on the budget for next season? Not my question, don't blame me.
Budget loss for this year we're currently working on. It's improved. I'm going to give you a cliche answer. I'm not going to tell you the loss, to be honest with you. But where I'm going to come from is that the owners at the start of the season were extremely generous in creating a playing budget to give us the chance of promotion, and were willing, I say willing, enabled us to lose a considerable sum of money to put us in the position we are now. However, I'd like to think that the attitude of the management team, to include Darren, everything he's done on my side and all the staff at the back of the room there, has been to try and reduce that loss as considerably as possible. And we started having early conversations about the budget for next year. And again, the conversations led by the chairman are, how high can we get that playing budget, but also put us under pressure for, and what revenue can you generate, what additional revenue can you generate, so that we're a sustainable club going into the future. Because our motivation is that Doncaster Rovers is here for the next 100 years. You will see clubs like Morecambe not paying wages, which is no criticism of them. They found themselves in a unique position, but we don't want to be in that position. Our idea is that Doncaster Rovers wipes its own face, even makes a profit, and if the owners choose to put some money in, that's their choice, because they want to for a very specific reason. So I apologise because I don't want to give figures out, but I've hopefully demonstrated the attitude of the guys on the table next to myself, and hopefully the attitude of all members of staff of Doncaster Rovers, to include players and staff, if that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, what I'd just like to add really is that, we have a few objectives that we set off at the beginning of the year with, and one is a sustainable football club, and that's very much on our agenda. And another aspiration that we have is championship football, which is equally on our agenda, and it's trying to match each individual objective up the best we can. And as Gavin quite rightly says, we're looking at budgets for next year and the way we could improve the revenue streams coming into the club without impacting particularly hard on our loyal season ticket holders in particular. But we're trying to look at all other avenues of doing business as well. So, you know, we're currently working on it. We're ahead of the game in terms of timetable, and we'll need to work on the figures as we go on through the season and the next few months as well.
In that case, can I have a loan?
Our hoping for one, I don't know about.
Right, my question is, through the year, we don't hear much from the directors or you, Gavin, or anybody on the website, official site, until time comes round for season tickets to be done. Then we hear nothing but from directors and yourself. I think if you put something at least once a month, it gives people things to talk about around town, and it gives people who don't normally come, they hear them talking and positive things about what clubs said, and then might encourage more to come down.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Dave, we'll have a look at that. What I would say is that I believe, as a board of directors, and to include ourselves, we're probably more accessible than most. You're probably judging us on John Ryan, to be fair, who had his own style, and that's probably not us. You know, Darren acts as a spokesman on many occasions. I will act as a spokesman, as you say, in times of adversity, if there are such things. However, being biased, every member of staff on match day walks around every bar, every concourse, speaks to everyone that we possibly can, so that we can speak one-on-one with people and answer their questions. We also do a piece in the programme. We also do a piece in the Doncaster Free Press. We also go on the website, and this is monthly, stroke bi-weekly. So I would struggle to be more accessible than that, probably, without repeating myself, without being even more boring than I am now. And I think, to be honest, whilst times are good like this, it's nice to hear from the manager, and that's what every fan wants. Again, with a certain element of bias, we've just had the Football League have released 10 best clubs fan engagement. We're in that 10. One of 6 fan clubs that won fan engagement excellence every year. So I don't think me going on a website, or Terry, or David, or Dick going on the website enhances any messages. And again, and I know you said it to make a point, you don't necessarily mean it, to say that we only speak once a year when season tickets go on sale, I'd say we speak 365 days a year, and therefore it's slightly unfair what you've said, because we talk on a weekly basis, for instance, if we're to net names. So, in the nicest possible way, I perhaps don't accept what you said.
And for Gavin, that was a very, very nice way as well. Excellent. Right, okay, we do have another question. Was it just along this line? Was it you, sir? Just squeeze through there. Okay. Look at him, personal with you. There we go. What's your name, sir, and who's your question for?
Chris Johnson is for the board in general. Are there any definite moves regarding the requirements needed for the academies to reach Category 2 standard? I know the club's aiming to go upwards, but there are certain standards needs to be met, especially at indoor facilities. Could they give any enlightenment to us on that, please?
I'm looking desperately for Kieran in the room so that he can nod and punch me when I say anything wrong, but also it may be useful to go to Kieran. What we have at the moment, I think Kieran will reiterate this, is a very good Cat 3 academy. We've got an EPP audit in I'd say approximately 12 months' time, I won't be far wrong, which will confirm that status. What the board have challenged Kieran to do is look at the benefit of a Cat 2 academy, which obviously comes with costs, so that we can understand the decision-making process to either support that or to confirm our place as a very good Cat 3 academy. What has happened, Kieran, and this is no speaking ill of the past, it's just continuous improvement. Kieran has made a significant improvement working in partnership with Darren for the academy. I think the board today, we've just gone through a statistic that 70% of first team matches this year have included a youth team player. So we are looking at, they call it productivity, so it's room to the team, coming into the team. We're working on that. It's something that Darren has changed the culture of the club with, changed probably my thinking, our thinking, so led, and Darren's recruited Kieran to help fulfil that strategy. So to conclude, and it's like Kieran may want to add to this, so Jonathan, I don't know if you want to stand with Kieran up, he's got a mic. Good Cat 3 Academy, aspiration to be the best Cat 3 Academy, whilst we understand the benefits of a Cat 2. Kieran, is there anything else you'd like to add, please?
I think it's really important that as a club we start to produce consistently players to play in the first team. I think it marries with the vision that we're talking about being a sustainable club. We need to be a sustainable Cat 2 Academy. That's the ambition, but we need to make sure that we're in a strong position through our audit process next year. And with the continued support that we're certainly getting at academy level, that we start to produce the players that the manager wants to see in his first team.
I mean, just to reiterate as well, the academy currently costs the owners a considerable sum of money anyway as a Cat 3, and that's what we've got to understand, because there would be more investment, and it's what that investment would be against the benefits. But the basic model for a Cat 3 academy is that monies of £455,000 need to be spent on it, just so you understand the commitment to that academy.
Lovely, thanks very much, Gavin, and to Kieran for your thoughts on that. We have another question from this gentleman here. Your name, sir, and who's your question for?
My name's Brian, I think it's for Gavin. Last week, Gavin, I ran up 3 times to get a ticket for Newport, so I could pick it up on Saturday. The first time, it took me 11 minutes, nobody answered. I tried again 10 minutes later, 11 minutes again, so I left it way after lunchtime, and I got through about 1 o'clock after a couple of minutes. Why is that happening?
I'm going to defer to the team out there to give you specific about the improvements we've made. So for instance, we spent quite a bit of money about online ticketing, how people can buy away tickets online, etc. Now I appreciate that doesn't help if you're reliant on using the phone to book a ticket. What I would say, and it's a criticism often levied of all sporting venues that I couldn't get through on the phone immediately, is that at times the phone lines are busy, and at times we've got, when they go online, we've got 2,150 season ticket holders who are probably trying to bring up at the same time, and we could never staff that. However, there will be times when the phone's not answered, and it may be something we have to have a look at. So I am stuttering a little bit over it, because obviously I don't know the detail, and I'll grab you afterwards to find out time of day, when you rang, etc. However, what we have tried to do is bring the memberships in, with whether you buy 24 hours in advance. We have tried to improve the online ticketing, and numbers of online tickets bought have risen significantly. So therefore that's obviously starting to work. Reference your specific problem with the phone lines, so if we can have a chat afterwards, then I'll try and understand it further. I'm looking around the room to see if Liam or Tracy's here, just in case there's anything to add to that, if that's okay. No, Tracy's at the back of the room. Jonathan, if you could maybe grab back of the room to Tracy, if you can maybe speak to Tracy who runs the ticket office, to see if there's any specific that I've not covered.
Yeah, alongside the ticketing online site that we've improved, we are actually looking at implementing a telephone automated system, which will obviously cover any calls coming in, and you'll be able to book your tickets through that. This is something that we are currently looking at and looking to implement in the coming months. So hopefully that will assist with any calls that are not answered quick enough.
Thank you, Tracy. I don't know whether the gentleman wants to come back after those comments.
Gavin, you mentioned about you can get your tickets online.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't go online. I'm one of them. I'm that age where the lines don't bother me. I suddenly go onto a phone and talk to people on phone.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's great, and that's where Tracy's coming from about the online automating. I used to work in events, for instance, and it's a constant criticism which we're trying to fight against. That if you've got 3 members of staff on a ticket line who've also got customers in front of them, do they speak to the customer in front of them? Do they pick up the phone line? And it's our job to find those solutions. One of the solutions we've come up with, as you said, is the online ticketing, to hopefully relieve some of the pressure so they can answer the phone. The other thing is this on-loan, telephone automated loan. So it's obviously on our agenda to improve, and we will continue to look at it. And as I say, maybe grab you afterwards, get your details, and we'll test it between ourselves to see if it improves.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Tracy. And Gavin, got a gentleman here who would like to ask a question. What's your name, sir, and who's your question for?
My name's James, and it's to the board. You put on the website a few weeks or maybe a month ago about Thailand, the pre-season tour. Any update on that, or a cost, like, roughly? Because I want to book it, like.
The conversation at the moment are ongoing. We hope to be able to give an answer in approximately 7 days' time. If we go to Thailand, it will be for football reasons, and not because you want to go. Not because you want to go. No, it will be for football reasons. It won't be for commercial reasons or anything along those lines. And those are the conversations that we're just currently working through at the moment. What the worst thing they could do, obviously, you know, horrible Gavin, commercial angle to it, wants to raise money. That is absolutely insignificant if it hurts our preparations for next season. And those are the conversations that we've got to have. So we will be hoping to make that decision very clear. I know Darren and I were talking about it only today, and we will communicate that up on the neck on the line within the next 7 days, if that's okay.
Okay, so keep your powder dry for the holiday plans for close season. Okay, can I just get through? Right. Your name, sir, and who's it for? Who's your question for?
My name's Alan, and questions for Darren. What's the likelihood of us seeing Conor Grant next year? And also, are we likely to have Houghton and Mason as well, even if on loan?
You got your crystal ball, Darren?
My questions for me? Well, a lot would depend on, with Conor Grant certainly, a lot would depend if we get promoted or not. If we were to get promoted, then I'm confident the boy would want to stay. And likewise with the other two players as well. But, you know, Houghton is just signed a new contract with Chelsea. I know he's very happy at the club. His next natural progression would be to go probably on loan to a League One club. So again, if we get promoted, I would feel that we would have a chance. But certainly, I would be optimistic that, given how well they've done this season and how, particularly Houghton and Mason, because they've been here longer, how much they've enjoyed it, then I think we'd have a chance. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Darren. Okay, we're on the lookout for questions. We'll try and spread the net wide for questions. Okay, sir? Sorry, Leanne's going to put the question on behalf of this gentleman here. What's his name?
So, my name's Craig. Hiya, and I've got a question for Gavin. On the 14th of January, we went to Barnet away to the match, and when there was a substitution, they put the names of the subs, so I knew who was being substituted, but here we don't have that. We need a board. I've said it before, I've said it quite a few times, and it's never happened. We've got a board, the board's big enough. Can you not put the names on the subs so we can see who's been swapped? At Barnet they had it, it was a good example.
If I can dive in there, Gavin, is that possibly a matter of utilising the screen, if we can get a slide up quick enough, even if it's just after?
Yeah. I mean, the answer is yes, we hadn't thought about it, so pretty good thought.
Yeah, it'd be good if you could put it on, because obviously hearing people, they can hear it when you announce it, but I'm having to ask who's been substituted, so if it's up there then we know, that'd be great.
It's an excellent point, really, to be quite honest, because obviously we can actually put the name of the goal scorer up there and an image of the goal scorer, but as far as the substitutions go, that is something certainly we can add value to match days with, as far as that is concerned. So I'm sure that is, Gavin?
Yeah, can we take that to the next level, though? And maybe, like we said, we'd take the details of the gentleman who talked about the phone lines. Maybe if we set up a focus meeting, there's got to be more that we can do to assist as well, not just the subs board. So let's have a focus meeting, if the gentleman's happy to meet with the friends, and let's see if there's more that we can do as a club as well, because we hadn't thought of that, to be fair.
Yeah, that's fine. Great.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Gavin, and thank you very much for the question there, Craig. Okay, we've got a gentleman furiously waving his finger up at me there. Dickie Bird style. What's your name, sir, and who's your question for?
Okay, my name's Dave. Question for Darren. In the 70s, I watched Liverpool knock the ball around until they found openings. I watched Tottenham in the 80s go through Glen Hoddle. When we do it here, and it's been the same in all those 40-odd years, there's an element of the crowd, if we pass it back 3 times, that start jeering and groaning because they want it kicked up the field, so that we've got about a 1 in 3 chance of keeping possession. I'm assuming that they are under instruction to knock it back as often as they need to in order to get the space.
Well, sort of what I mentioned earlier about, I feel that in terms of talking about yourselves, supporters, the belief, I actually think, well, I hope I'm right, that you've got a better understanding of how I want the team to play, because I've certainly felt there's been a bit more patience from yourselves. And you're always going to get 1 or 2 that, yeah, they want us to play forward quickly. We work a lot on we play with the spaces. The players have to find space on the pitch. But we want to move the ball quickly, we want to keep the ball, we want to dominate the ball. That's how we work on every day in training. And to be fair, I think we've done it very, very well this season. I still think we can do it better. But how we want to play is, if a team want to press right up against us and play a high line, then the space is in behind them. Generally, teams will drop off against us, so we have to play outside them, and play in front of them until someone can find space. So yes, if teams drop, as Morecambe did second half, the only space is either in front of them or outside them. That's why sometimes I'll play wing backs, Rowe and Blair, give you width outside the deep line defenders they've got. And that's sort of what we're trying to do. But the big thing for me is the players, we always encourage them to find space on the pitch. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, I mean, I'm quite happy. I'm not complaining here.
No.
My pal on Saturday said my words in effect by saying we're top of the league because we're playing football, and that for me is absolutely true. But there's about a dozen behind your right shoulder, from the dugout.
I can hear them. Yeah, they're the owners.
But my question then to you is, would you please put out somewhere in a report and ask for patience when we play that way? It's for a reason.
Yeah,
and see if we can just get it, because it winds me up. It has done for 40 odd years.
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's patience and there's patience, and sometimes even the players can take it too literally. Like Saturday, we're in the last couple of minutes. That may be a time to certainly get it wide and get it in the box and get bodies in the box, because to win games of football you need to score goals, but there's all different ways of how you score goals. But no, listen, I think the fans have been outstanding this season, but I think there is definitely more of an element of patience from the supporters. I've certainly noticed that
it's great away.
Yeah, they understand, but even here they understand what we're trying to do is to create a situation where we can sort of get 2v1s, 1v1s in a certain part of the pitch where we're going to hurt teams, and I think the players are getting better and better at it, I have to say. I hope that answers your question.
Well, it does really. I will just make you smile. I had a guy next to me on one occasion, and he complained every time we passed it back. And I said to him, look, even Barcelona play like that on occasion. And he said, yeah, but they've got better players. So I said, well, does that mean then that we're not allowed to?
Well, that's a good point. They have got better players. That doesn't mean that because you're in League 2 you've got to bump it. We play the way I want us to play, and the players fully understand that. That's the most important thing. If the players don't understand it, it's a waste of time. They understand it. Alright, thank you.
Great stuff, thank you very much indeed. Right, okay, who's next with a question for our top table? We've got 1 or 2 hands raised there. We're going to go for this young man here with the shirt on. What's your name and who's your question for?
Questions for Ben. It's kind of a 2-part question for First of all, I'd just like to reflect on the gentleman's comment earlier about the decisions made in the summer. I think we'd all agree it's far too often in football that the manager, I'm sure Darren would agree, is sacked too quickly. And I think a lot of people in the room would probably admit to calling for that in the summer. I personally wasn't one of them, but I would personally like to thank the board for not doing that, sticking with their man, and I think it's proven the right thing to do. So credit to David and the board. So I'd like to offer my thanks, I'm sure many others would, for taking that course of action. I seriously doubt if a different course of action were taken, we wouldn't be in the position we find ourselves now. So I'd like to thank David and the board for that. And that leads me into my question, really. Gavin said kind of throughout the evening, and it's common knowledge that the club's vision to find themselves in the Championship. I read in it on the Free Press recently that they hope to do that in 5 years. So that leads to my question. In terms of the off-field side, how is it you propose that we're going to do that? What strategies are in place to achieve that? And on the on-field side, Darren, obviously the immediate aim would to get out of League Two straight away, but then when we do that, how do you see the on-field side getting to the Championship? Because obviously getting out of League One, as we've seen with other Yorkshire clubs, it isn't easy, as isn't getting out of this league. But on the on-field, how do we do that, hopefully, next season?
Well, I mean, no, can't have chickens here, we've got to get out of this league. Obviously, the questions related to if we did. League One is clearly a harder league to get out of, there's no question about that. But in saying that, I feel with the squad we've got at the moment, in terms of ability, in terms of mentality, then I certainly don't feel, I'm sure the board would agree, that we're going to be making as many changes as we did last summer. That was the time to make the change. And the recruitment we did very early, very good. Players that we feel that can play above League Two and League One, and what we all agreed, and certainly that obviously the board really backed me on it, was even then I was looking at bringing players in like that, not 7-8 changes last summer, not 7-8 changes. There's no consistency to that. I think if you look at the squad, the players we've got, I mean, I can roll them off, and Rowe straight away, that was a real marquee signing, and it's got a statement. Bowdry can play in League One comfortably, Marquez, Blair, and go on and on. They're players that we feel can cope with that level. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say if we get promoted we're going to have the same squad. We need to improve. On the field we need to improve. There's areas where I feel we can improve, and obviously we'd sit down and hope that we can get the players in to improve that. Because we're always looking to improve, and no matter what happens this season, there has to be improvement from the players next season, from everyone on the pitch, to get to where we want to get to. The target in 5 years, can we get in the Championship? Then, I would like to think this before then.
Thank you. The off the field section, and I'm hesitating because it will be useful at the right time for us to share our 5-year vision, which the board have led. Especially with David, Dick, Terry, Andy, and I've acted as their servant to pull together a document which is mostly their thinking, which will demonstrate how we drive revenue for the next 5 years, and hopefully fund Championship as we talk about. But just to give you some examples, Liam and his team have led on a bid with the Football Foundation to create Pitch 4. We call it Pitch 4 as another AstroTurf pitch, which will secure tens of thousands per year in let, because the soccer centre is virtually full. The soccer centre is virtually full because Kieran and Ben Lawson and his team have led on the development. So there we've got revenue from that. The commercial team, this is aimed at a bit of a name check, but I don't apologise for that. The commercial team have driven over the last couple of years, but more significantly going forward, commercial deals that will take us into a different territory. Now, we will be talking to you very soon about new commercial partners that come with a value. We're looking at we're calling it a DNA card, which is basically a loyalty card. We're looking at how we can fill the stadium through our different season ticket strategies. The foundation are leading on NCS for the country, so they've got 900 students. We're working on getting them to come and watch matches. They also produce significant revenue, and we're the biggest secondary school in Doncaster at the moment. So, from my point of view, there's been significant improvements
certainly over the last 36 months. But the board, you know, and this is not sycophantic and this is not backpatting, but we've acted as management team, as their servants, to pull together their expertise in business, and that's formed a 5-year plan, which we probably need to share with you guys as soon as we're able, although there's commercial sensitivities with negotiations of sponsorship at the moment. And that will demonstrate significant revenues that perhaps aren't available to other clubs, that we hope will give us the edge, that will put us in the Championship. What we have got to remember as well is that we are Doncaster Rovers, and this is the brand that we're driving, this is what's all important to us. However, we are lucky to have Club Doncaster, so we've got the Dons at the back. You know, some of the sponsorship that, for instance, has been come to this stadium is from Dons fans, and we need to accept that. So there's a stand sponsor that was a Dons fan, who wasn't a football fan. So there's that advantage. We've also got the foundation, so we have got advantages that Club Doncaster brings to us, but we've also got the advantages of a board with vision and hopefully staff that act as the servants to drive that vision through, to make Doncaster Rovers in its own right have commercial opportunities, work with partners that are punching far above our weight. And I'm hoping that you guys sit in this room at the start of next season proud of the commercial deals we've done, because you will know that as a club we're operating at a level, we would say, far above League One, and therefore that will help facilitate our push for the Championship. So some of this is vague, and I apologise, because we are currently negotiating certain deals and we're currently discussing certain strategies. However, I am confident whatever comes out of these strategies, you guys, as I say, will be proud of what we as a group are trying to achieve, and the partners that are working with us to achieve that. So we will share that as soon as we're able, if that's okay. But there is plans for significant increased revenue. But again, I'll go back to my point, that to get these guys are still back in this club. Whatever job all the staff have done in this room, it still needs significant money from these guys at the moment.
Thanks, Gavin. Just a quick follow-up, if I can. I think we all agree, and echo what Darren said, that this squad will be quite competitive in the league above, perhaps with a few quality additions in the summer. A question for maybe the chairman or the two sat next to him. How resistant would the board be to good offers perhaps, that come in for our players in the summer? I'm quite surprised that maybe we didn't get some offers for a few in January. Maybe we did, maybe rejected, I don't know. But I would imagine if we were to go up, that obviously attracts attention. People, I mean, John Marcus, 18 goals, for example, people are going to be looking at that, strikers like that. We're always told they're gold dust. How resistant would the board be to offers for players such as that, Liam Manuel, for example, who, in my opinion, would be absolutely pivotal to push for the Championship?
You've got the non-footballing director answering that question. And the reason that I've jumped in on this, there's a couple of points I wish to make. And to answer your question directly, I may well pass it over. But two bits of, one bit of knowledge and one bit of history. And I think the knowledge at the moment about the contribution to the back passing debate, they can pass back as much as they want when we are the highest scoring, goal scoring team. That's point number one. Point number two to add into the debate, I think it probably is about 8 or 9 years ago, and we were round at Dick's house, and our manager in those days was called Sean O'Driscoll. And he didn't say much. He was a very difficult man to talk to. I love meeting Darren because he and I can have a chat. There's an element of respect both ways, of course. That wasn't quite the same with Mr. O'Driscoll, because he knew I know nothing about football, and therefore he didn't really want to speak. So his only question to me was, right, Terry, he said, are you prepared to finance Doncaster Rovers into the Premier League? And my response was, well, Sean, I think you'll find there's much more to a football club to stay in the Premier League than just putting players on the pitch for one season. And Dick and I have spent 10 years financing the development of Doncaster Rovers. So whatever level it gets to, it can stay there and have potential to go further.
Thank you very much, Terry, and very well put. Are you done now? Right, was somebody out there? Lovely. What's your name, sir, and who's your question for?
It's Nigel to the board. Just wondering what the timetable is for the season tickets next season, and if you anticipate any rises as well.
Hopefully released on 26th March for sale. Early bird lasting about 5 weeks. The pricing strategy at the moment, we're hoping to conclude by the 14th, by the 14th of February, and we'll release it then. But as David and Terry have both said, is that our motivation is to get more bums on seats.
Okay. And oh, your words, not his. Right. Your name, sir, and who's your question for?
My name's John Atkins, and it's to the board and to Darren really. First of all, last summer I commented about the need for togetherness and teamwork, and I must admit that this season we've got that, and that's the way to success. I was a little bit disappointed, Darren, that we didn't have any reserve section this year, because when we've got injured players and young lads coming through, or young lads that we brought in, I think having a reserve section enhances that togetherness. I did this story, but have we any views to next season as to having a reserve section instead of putting the lads out in low like Lundy and the young lads?
Yeah, it's always a difficult situation that with the reserve league and whether you have a team in it or not. I didn't find last season it did us any good really. So we decided in the summer that rather than do that, we could handpick the games that we wanted. We still actually do play a lot of games, and you know, we've played 2 in the last 3 weeks against Sheffield Wednesday, against Scunthorpe, and obviously local teams at Cantley. So I think it benefits us because we can sort of decide who we play against if you want, you know, and it cuts out the travelling and things like that. They're still, excuse me, they're still very, very competitive games. I mean, we played Sheffield Wednesday, they had 7 or 8 first team players, Scunthorpe 7 or 8 first team players because they're big squads. And those games, believe me, are far better for our young players. They're proper matches, you know, when it was, I mean, David's nodding, he was at the game. The game against Scunthorpe was very competitive. And for my young players, it's important they play against what you would probably say with Scunthorpe and Sheffield championship players. Championship players, big lads, they have to move the ball quicker, otherwise they're going to get tackled. They have to be brighter upstairs because the way we want to play, we want to pass around teams. So that, for me, far outweighs the actual reserve games. I'm not saying that they're a bad thing, a lot of clubs obviously go into them. I just feel that we've got more flexibility. In terms of the loan players, London's gone out for purely one reason. He had 3 months out of the team. I had to get him games. If I loan him to a League 2 club or League 1, he has to stay till the end of the season. Now obviously I couldn't do that. He had to go to non-league. Fielding has gone out to get games, what you would say man's football. Joe Pugh the same. Etheridge needed games, Garrett needed games, so they all needed games. That doesn't mean that they're finished at the club, that's not the reason why we're doing it. There's a short-term plan and then the long-term plan. But certainly with Mitchell Lund, he'll play the whole of February at Wrexham and then he'll come back to us for the business end a lot fitter. He'll play 5 games this month. But yeah, I understand your question, and I'm sure it would divide opinion in the room, but those were my reasons for it.
Thank you, Darren. Okay, we've got not so much a question, but our friend down here would like to read a statement, as he will.
Yeah, it's just a short statement, that's all, about a certain player that's just been sold. If Omar Bogle's worth, as it's reputed to say in paper, between $1 million and $1.5 million, how much does that make Marcus worth?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to point out after Terry, sorry, I don't know your name, so Ben, that we haven't had any offers for any of the players. And as David's quite rightly said, the question I asked to Gavin was, if there was any offers, and it was unanimous, no, we're not interested. We weren't interested in selling any of our players. So, that was clear. That was as clear as 100%. We were not. There's no interest in selling any of our players, but we didn't have any offers. I have to say. Now that I would imagine would be surprising. I think there's a clear reason behind that, because I think from the outside looking in, I think clearly they can see that Doncaster Rovers are not a club that are going to sell their best players, and I think with other clubs you can probably do that. But I think the way the club's going, I think the way the club's run, I think the performances of the players and the way the players are learning and the enjoyment, they wouldn't leave anyway. You know, so I think that was the reason we didn't get any bids. I really did.
Okay, we're a few flurry of hands coming up now. We are going to try and get as many questions in as we possibly can. I'm going to first of all go to this gentleman, and then we've got another hand just over there. So your name's Sarah, and who's it for?
Yeah, name's Nick, and it's for Darren. About Ian Lawler, how long was he on the radar for? Because he seemed to be coming very quickly when Marco got injured, and isn't it great to see that the board back him with a permanent signing?
Well, he was. We were aware of Ian. He was mentioned last season. I have to say, with Marco, I've been absolutely delighted. I think he's been outstanding for us this season. I really do. I think it's been excellent. And it was a real blow for the boy to get injured in a game on television where he played very, very well. So it was a real blow, because the lad hadn't played many games, but we felt that with games he would grow and get a lot more belief. The one thing for a goalkeeper is the defenders trusted him. There was no question about that, and I think that's gave him a lot of confidence. When obviously Marco got injured and we knew it would be 3 months or so, we spoke. He was the one that came up. I spoke to Man City. Both Man City were reluctant to let him out on loan. They wanted a permanent deal. At that point, I have to ask the question. Unfortunately, I got the right answer. We managed to get him in on a permanent deal. So we were lucky in that. City have got a really good top young goalkeeper below Ian. I think players can be at clubs for, he was there a long time, they need to move, they need to get away and play. And I think he'll do very well for us. He'll do very well. I think he started very well.
His distribution is brilliant, isn't it? He gets in, then it full back or centre half.
Yeah, he fits into what we want to do. He plays from the back, he's got a good tempo, he's a good second, he's got a lot of learning to do. But I feel that I think he's done very well in the short time he's been here.
Excellent. Okay, very, very quickly, just over here. How you doing? What's your name and who's your question for?
My name's Brad. I've got 2 quick questions. One's for Gavin. If we've got any plans to do electronic tickets on the gates, season ticket, like cards or anything like that?
Yes, we've got plans. Yeah, it's something we've seriously considered. We're looking at cards, we're looking at loyalty cards, but we're also looking at electronic admittance systems. So all options are on the table at the moment. Anything we do will be continuous improvement, cliche, but true. So therefore, first of all, we'll look at a loyalty card, how we can benefit our fans. And then that would probably progress into discussions about electronic admission. Because to do it all in one would be costly, and we need to learn what we're doing. You know, we need to be what we're driven by the board is get it right first, get it really good, and then come back with the next discussion. So yes, loyalty cards, yes, admissions, all on the table. Hopefully, we'll be talking to you about one of those very, very quickly. But the admission one is probably not for another 24, 36 months.
Okay. Second question is for Darren. What do you think to the referees in League 2?
I think that's brilliant. I don't care as long as you win. Listen, they've been okay. They've been alright. They're human beings. They make mistakes like everyone. No, they are. I mean, 10 years I've been a manager now, and there's no value in getting involved. And you know, at the end of the day, we do reports on a Monday morning. And I also think, and listen, I'm passionate, and when it gets to a Saturday from 3 to 5, you have to be. But then again, you have to remember that you're representing the football club. You can't just run up and down the pitch the whole 2 hours. And there's other managers that do it. I won't name one, but there is.
Steve Evans.
So I think you need to learn that, but I think you have to come and accept that they don't deliberately make mistakes. There's no question about that.
Good, thank you. Okay, right, let's have a look round for some more questions. Sir, I'm going to come to you very, very shortly after our next question. There we go. What's your name, sir, and who's your question for?
Mick Flannery, North Branch. Gavin, is there any chance that someone can liaise with the team we're playing on away matches so we can find out beforehand where the bus can park? I mean, it is a stroll in the park when you're in your 50s and 40s, but in your 70s, half a mile is a struggle. And if we know beforehand, then the decision's ours, but we're not blaming you.
The answer is yeah. I mean, what we have worked hard on this year is to get the appropriate seating for the appropriate people, because we asked that last week, the owners, and Liam's got a huge list of, you know, we've Cheltenham first, you know, when we speak to them, for instance, if we've got people that want to sit, where should they ask for their tickets, etc. So it's the natural progression. The next question is, where's the bus going to park? What we can work hard with, because Mary at the back works hard with opposition fans, for instance, is whether if the bus has to park a mile away, making a point, whether we do a drop-off. So we can work hard with that as well. So we'll ask Mary to put that on the agenda for questions. She can't be responsible for the answer, but she can be responsible for pushing the answer, if you like, and that's what we'll do.
You say then the decision that was like afterwards, if we know beforehand how far we've got to walk, then we just wait for the result.
No, thank you, mate. Thank you.
Okay, just going to very quickly get down while this gentleman digests that slurp of bodies there.
It's for Gavin. There's 2 questions. The first one, Gavin, is there's a rumour going round, which I feel strongly, about Virgin Trains wants to invest in Doncaster. Is there any truth in it?
I didn't hear the question, but we will be hoping to announce new commercial partners within the next 7 days.
And the next one is, we talked earlier on about season tickets. As an incentive, as season tickets, I believe, has gone down this last couple of years, which is understandable, from Championship down to Division 1 and as we are now. But as an incentive, why don't we, as a club, which I class anybody as a club, is to put an incentive down with your season tickets, i.e., when we play friendlies, a season ticket holder attends them free of charge, or a couple of games when we're in the FA Cup.
Well, I'm going to fudge some of the answer, because some of it we're not allowed to do, for instance. So, for instance, with FA Cup, there's very clear rules about season ticket holders not being allowed to get in, etc., etc. But the clear principle of rewarding season ticket holders has been probably an hour and a half of our last board meeting, and how we do that. We had an in-depth conversation. We believe, with a certain amount of bias, that we will delight you. And that's the conversations that we're having at the moment. It may not be specifically how you've said, but it will be, everything you said reflects how we think, and hopefully what we will be announcing in the very near future.
Okay, Gavin, thank you very much for that. Okay, folks, we're getting into the final 10 minutes of questions for tonight, so have them very ready and as quickly as you can. Yes, sir.
It's Alf again. I just want to, I don't know which two, but the academy, am I right in thinking you only contracted out to 2 youngsters this year? Is it because of budget constraints, or the talent just wasn't there?
Can I pass the ball to Kieran on that one, because he'll answer the details. What I can say, it was nothing to do with budget. I can say that.
We have offered 2 2 professional contracts to Will Longbottom and Reece Fielding, as you're probably well aware. We're hoping that there'll be a third one as well. There'll be more details of that to follow shortly. But it's down to potential, and the potential for them to go and be a strong part of the manager's plans in the next year to 18 months.
Thank you, Kieran. Okay, let's gentlemen just round here. What's your name, sir, and who's your question for?
My name's John Tempest from the North Branch. Mr. Chairman, my question is to the top table people, except Gavin, because for the last 12 months I've been dogging him with this question till he's sick to see him, isn't he? Now, behind you, the problem is behind you. You can see polypipe, first class binders, jibber jabber, and so on and so forth. We've got one of the finest football stadiums in the Football League, and I don't care who they are, except, say, Man United, maybe Chelsea. They're no better than us. We've got one of the finest football stadiums in the country. But for some unknown reason, it doesn't seem to have a heart. People still talk about Bellevue. It's time to forget about Bellevue. Let's concentrate on the keyboard. But what I want to say is, recently, you've been putting people on the field before the kick-off in the club that has played, they played for the club previously. And that's a fine idea. But what I want to see is our stands being named after some of our favourite players, and including 1 or 2 on the top table. For instance, the polypipe. I have no wish to take away from polypipe the right to put polypipe up there. After all, they put thousands of pounds into this company to try and make it pliable. So, but it would be nice to share that responsibility. For instance, we have a section on the east side called the family section. Why can't we have Jamie Coppinger, family stand? There's many others. For instance, we had this weekend the wife of Charlie Williams come and collect his prize. Well, why can't we have something that says Charlie Williams, first stand? All I'm asking for is not to take away any of the responsibilities or lose any money, but at least let's share some of the pride that we have in his club.
There's times you wish you're not chairman of football, I think. But I mean, we'll take on board what you say. I mean, there will be some elements of commercialism, as you can probably appreciate. And, you know, we're always trying to balance the budgets that we put into the football club with the revenues that we're receiving. And at the moment we know, or I know for some example, of some football clubs not too far from here that name stands after individuals, and we give up revenue streams from that. And, you know, there is a balance with it, and we can certainly look and consider some of the points you make, but it is always a balance. I'm sure you appreciate that as well. I'm sure everybody appreciates it. We're trying to do the best financially for the club so that we can give Darren the wherewithal to be as competitive and on the field of play as well. But there is, you know, it is a good point, and you know, I hope that, you know, I can speak from my heart in the football club as well. You know, we're all putting his hearts and souls in on this table, I can assure you, as well as other things as well. But we are putting his heart and souls and applying our commercialism to the best interests of the football club. But, you know, we'll take on board, and you'll have to keep battering away at Gavin. He's a bit thick-skinned at times, but you'll have to do your best on that. But thank you for the question as well. Your observation is well received. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you very much, David. Okay, as we promised, folks, final couple of questions. If anybody has anything else to get off their chest to put to our top table this evening, this fine gentleman here. Yes, sir, your name and who's your question for?
I'm Eric, and I'm with back to what that chap said, and I'm hoping in 8 to 10 years' time we'll have the Darren Ferguson stand.
Excellent. Okay, any more questions? He's just scratching his ear, but the young lady next to him would like to put a question.
I think if I remember right, I was the last question last time we sat here. And I think I gave you a challenge of pulling together, finding your shared grit and your vision to make travelling up and down motorways on days like today a pleasure rather than a chore. And I have to say, hand on heart, the last few matches that Ben drags me to have been an absolute pleasure. The journey up and down, the hundreds of miles that we all do collectively, it has been a pleasure. So thank you to everyone sat there, from a traveller.
Do you know what? We were going to end on that, but I cannot deny this gentleman a quick question. This is going to be our final question of the night.
Make it a good one, please. Here's one. It's for Darren. A couple of years ago, we were riding in League One and Dean Saunders left to Wolverhampton. If a championship club came for you...
It could go!
Would you make the jump?
No. Absolutely no chance. No way. 100% wouldn't.
It didn't work out for Dean Saunders going to Wolverhampton.
That's right. No, I wouldn't. No, listen, we've got to succeed this season, but I think I've always been a manager that has a certain longevity to a job he's gone into, apart from when Preston, when I got sacked after the year. And it's really about not just building the first team, but the club in general. And that's important to me. But my job's to make sure we're successful at first team level, most importantly. But no, it wouldn't even cross my mind. This is a very, very good football club. And I feel myself that if we get out of the league, as we're all hoping in this room, then I think we're just touching on it. I think we've massive potential to succeed. Thanks.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a really good variety of questions this evening, and I sincerely hope the top table have answered those questions as fully as they possibly can tonight. We thank you very much indeed for your attendance. Ladies and gentlemen, a big thank you to our top table of Andrew Watson, Gary Baldwin, Terry Bramwell, David Blunt, Dick Watson, and our team manager, Darren Ferguson. And mainly to yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your attendance in such great numbers this evening. Sincerely hope you've got something from tonight. Back in action here, of course, for the visit of Luton Town.